Two. Hi, everybody. My name is Isaac Rogers. I'm Chief Innovation Officer of Schlesinger Group. First of all, so thrilled to be here today to talk a little bit about digital qualitative as we apply it to customer experience and user experience. We've got a lot of experience in these two areas. We're going to walk you through a little bit of that, show you how our products work, and then give you a case study and some best practices. We're really going to start with two key drivers of CX and UX research success that we've seen over the years as we've done these studies online. That I think are pretty important fundamentally to think about how to get the most out of your customer experience and user experience research. And it's frankly some things that we tend to overlook in the research process. So we're going to start with that. I'm then going to go through some of the key features that our platform QualBoard provides for CX and UX researchers who are doing digital qualitative in this way. Give you a case study to show you just how flexible and agile we can be with these methodologies. And then I'll even show you a quick demo just to show you how simple it is for you to take this tool and really do some iterative learning with your customers and respondents. So, like I said, I'm going to start with a fundamental understanding we have about how to get the most out of CX and UX research. So, for a little background, Schlesinger Group does about 5,000 online qualitative studies every year with clients in 86 countries. So, we touch a lot of CX and UX work, a lot of habits and practices, feedback, ad and copy testing. And so we try to learn as much as we can from those experiences. And when we look at customer experience and user experience, there's really kind of two fundamentals that differentiate best practices here from some other methods that we have in the space. So the first one is about research flexibility. And I'm going to go into each of these in a little bit of detail, but it's this idea that the way we design customer experience and user experience research shouldn't be as stringent and structured as some of the other ways that we might go about doing some research with respondents. The second thing that I think we don't give enough attention to is the participant experience when it comes to CX and UX work. That we are oftentimes kind of throwing respondents into a study. They don't know what's expected of them. They don't know what you're looking for. And so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about that and how critical that can be and how it can actually be a little bit different or challenging for researchers to incorporate that into their work. So we're going to talk about flexibility and how critical that is. And we're going to talk about PX, or the participant experience, and how that can really boost your learnings and boost the results that you get from your work. So I'm going to start with this quote about flexibility. It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you don't. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. So it's the things that we think we know that don't really turn out to be true that are really dangerous. And I think market research is full of those things. We may go into a research design and think, we know what our customers are doing with our product. We know how they're going to respond to this website redesign. And so we're just here to test this, this, and this. And what we find is that oftentimes that leaves a tremendous amount of value that really doesn't get uncovered, because there's so much that can be extracted from respondents when you take time to create really iterative open learning experiences that leave it open so that you can find new things that you might not have even planned in your research. And look, there's a lot of research that we execute and design, like ad testing, copy testing, even some in-home use tests and product testing, where that rigidity and that structure is really important because we're trying to scientifically measure things. I think CX and UX tend to be a little different. They tend to be, we are trying to explore as widely as we can. And so the way that we structure our research and the digital platforms we choose really need to behave in a way that lets us think differently. Traditional research, or alternative methods that I'd mentioned about product testing and concept testing, they may benefit from this idea that we design a piece of research. We know exactly what we're going to cover. We've got a very strict discussion guide. We've got a very strict kind of data collection process we're going to follow. And that's wonderful. That gets you results that you can validate and verify, repeatability. In CX and UX, I think that when we're talking about really understanding how humans are using our products, experiencing our services, that can be a real miss, because by having such a stringent approach to the way we design this research, it doesn't allow the flexibility if we learn something new or different. It doesn't allow our respondents to answer questions in ways that, frankly, we may not have anticipated. So if you take anything from this webinar today, I hope you hear that CX and UX research truly benefit from an extraordinary amount of flexibility in your thinking as it comes to research. And of course, that you choose a digital qualitative platform that allows you an easy level of flexibility. So I kind of chose this image as the alternative to really stringent, structured approaches. You need to design digital research that allows you to be highly iterative. I often tell researchers that, look, if you're designing a CX study and it's a 3-day study or a 3-week study, don't plan it all out. Don't write all the questions. Don't create all of the objectives. Like, put the framework together, build the bones, but be there more to listen. Because if you build all the bones out and you've got all 3 days of your research structured, or all 2 weeks, or whatever the period of time is, you've got it all planned, it's really hard to change those plans. I oftentimes tell researchers, don't plan it. The further you get down the road in the research, let the questions come to you. Listen to what the respondents are saying. If they're giving feedback about your product or your service that's, something you didn't anticipate, or something that maybe doesn't make sense, explore that. Take a whole day to look into that. In order to be able to do that, it takes kind of two things. Number one, you have to have a willing participant in your clients. They have to be willing to look at a discussion guide that might look just like a skeleton or framework, but they need this understanding that what we're doing is we're going to follow the learning and we're going to follow the research where it goes. The second thing you need, aside from your clients being kind of bought into this idea or this process, is you need platforms and you need partners that can give you that flexibility. This is where I'll talk a little bit about having platform choice that has a lot of capabilities is really important. You don't want to get stuck with a methodology that really delivers one thing really well, and then you find out the information you need to collect from your respondents or the data you need to get from them needs to be a little different. And so one of the things that we bring to the table here at Schlesinger Group is we have a ton of products in probably every category. And so you can come to us and say, look, something changed at the last minute. We're going to choose a different platform or method or approach, and we can help you be flexible in that way to really achieve the greatest outcomes and the greatest results for this kind of work. I'm not saying that highly structured CX and UX work doesn't happen or can't be valuable, but I am saying leaving that door open for exploration can yield some extraordinarily powerful results. In my case study towards the end, I'll give you one of my favorite learnings from somebody who followed this kind of advice and was highly flexible in their research. The second thing I want to call out is the participant experience, the PX, which is something we talk a lot about here at Schlesinger Group. I really think this is a misunderstood component of research design. So we've got this pattern in research where we're really, really careful with our respondents. It's almost like we don't tell them what's going on. It's almost like it's a secret. We recruit them into these studies. We say, hey, you're going to be doing an online discussion board or a small community for a few days or some video interviews. But we don't really tell them why or what we're looking for or what it is we're trying to achieve. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that we're trying to make things feel more natural and organic. The downside is we get a lot of respondents who really don't know what is expected of them. And we have found an extraordinary amount of success by being willing to kind of read your respondents into exactly what you're looking for. If you're doing a customer experience test and you're trying to understand, how people are experiencing, an airline and their ability to change flights or change something in their itinerary, and you want to bring people in who are frequent flyers, they may not know what you're actually trying to learn. Are you trying to kind of document and listen to all of the telephone calls they make to the airline? Are you trying to understand how they use the website, the new chat bot, talk to a travel agent? Like, they don't necessarily know the scope of what they want or you want to learn from them or what they should be giving. A lot of our research sounds like, hi, consumer, you're in this research. Please fill in the blank in this little quadrant that we've designed for you. And the respondents kind of go, okay, I think this is what you want. I think this is how you want me contributing. But there's so much more value if we tell them, look, I really do want to know every time you try and reach this airline in the next 7 days. I want to see every moment. I want you to tell me about every message and every experience. That is really, really helpful for those users. When we're talking about a website usability or product usability, even little things like, was it difficult to find the website? When you Googled it, did you get a different result? Letting people know what's in and out of scope for what you're trying to learn can be so beneficial, because there might be a little nugget of wisdom sitting right there, but the respondent goes, well, I'm not really sure what this research is asking me to do. They're asking me to do a screen recording, or they're asking me to do a quick video diary of how I use this product, but I'll do it based on what I think they want, but I'm not really clear. As much clarity as you can give them without giving something away or biasing them, we find is much more valuable than really keeping kind of things behind covers. And I think the best way to do this is start during the recruiting process. Keep telling people, this is what we're listening for. This is what we're looking for. I want to know problems you have with the product. I want to know when you're having a good outcome with the product or the service that you're using. Sometimes respondents don't really know what we're looking for. We have respondents tell us all the time, well, I assumed this research company worked for the company that sponsored this, and so I didn't want to tell them anything bad. Like, be upfront with them and have that clarity to say, the experience that I'm trying to learn from you is the whole picture. good, bad, ugly, indifferent. I need to hear the whole thing. And so many times respondents go, oh, well, that changes everything. That changes the way I think about what I'm going to tell you, how I'm going to tell you that. So that clarity in this category of research, we find to be wildly, wildly valuable. So thinking about flexibility in your research and thinking about the participant experience are two things that we think really drive a lot better outcomes in this category of work. When it comes to choosing a platform, the most common platform we have in our portfolio for this kind of work is QualBoard, our enterprise research platform. So it's an online qualitative platform that's used by thousands of researchers around the world. We're running about 3,500 studies on this platform every single year. Runs a full spectrum, but CX and UX are a huge part of what we do inside of this tool. People think of it like an online discussion board, a community. It's got a lot of capabilities. I'll show you some screenshots here in a little bit to show you how we put the research in the platform and how you can actually run the research yourself. And then I'll, of course, show you a little live demo at the end of today's session. So the beautiful thing about QualBoard is when I talked about flexibility and how critical that was in CX and UX work, that means that you can pivot at a moment's notice. And if you start listening to something and your respondents are telling you, oh my gosh, we had no idea this product did this or behaved in this way, you can chase that down. You can pull on that thread and you can go the direction that the learning is taking you. So this is a single platform that a researcher can get a license to and use and run discussions, product usage diaries, video interviews, ethnographies, usability. It's really got a full spectrum of capabilities built right into one tool. So it's very easy for you to pivot inside of a project or to learn something from a respondent in a way that you might not have put in your original research design. It's super common these days that a researcher will say, oh, I'm doing a 7-day, online product usage diary. No big deal. We'll say, fine. And they'll get 5 or 6 days in and they'll go, hey, you know what? I'd really actually love to do a video interview with 2 or 3 of these people who had a product usage issue. And we'll go, fine, just click a few buttons. I'm going to show you how easy this is in a minute. And you can invite them and you can do a video interview with them. Or, you might be doing a diary and you might say, wow, like these people are really energetic about this category. I wonder if I get them in a little group discussion, would they tell me even more about their experiences with this company? We can say, sure, just a few clicks. You can start up a group discussion with the people that you want to invite and bring them right inside the tool. So we believe QualBoard is the best product in this category because it brings unmatched agility to the table. You will see when I show you the live demo, with just a few clicks, you can turn on new event types. You can invite new audiences into any of the research opportunities that we have. It's got a super user-friendly interface. We make it dead simple for respondents to complete the tasks and activities you put for them in the community. We've got a lot of automation, a lot of artificial intelligence behind the scenes, a lot of pre-programmed things so that it makes it easier for you, the researcher, to probe, engage, and stay on top of what's going on in the research. And then we've got a really robust reporting tool. Again, in 30 minutes, I'm not going to be able to go into all of this, but these are 4 areas we think that the QualBoard platform not only sets itself apart, but really makes itself a really great CX and UX testing platform for you. So inside of QualBoard at this point, we have 5 different what we call research event types. So these are different structures for activities that you can do with those respondents. You could do a project that's got 1 activity in it. You could do a project that's got 50 activities in it, 3, 5, 7, any number in between. You can have your entire audience in a project, 20, 30, 50, 500 people do one event. You could have 20 people do this diary and 50 people do this group discussion and 5 people do a video interview and mix and match those directly inside of the project. Everybody is stored inside of one project. All of your data lives there. All your reporting lives there. So you can pivot all of this information pretty much on a dime. So I'm going to go through a little bit some of these event types just to give you an idea. And again, we can show a little bit later. Asynchronous group discussions, so multi-day, typically online bulletin board style discussions is a really big driver of use of this platform. We do this a lot for experience journeys and consumer exploration. Kind of see here on the left this kind of threaded discussion look that you see. We do a lot of individual diaries in especially the user experience space. We'll ask people to go to a prototype website or download a new application and then do some screen sharing so that we can see how they're behaving in the product. They do it on their own time, so they can do a screen recording event where they browse a website or browse a new e-commerce site, and they can do that at midnight if they want, if that's the time they have. They can do that at 10 p.m. They can do it whenever it makes sense for them, and you can capture that data in an asynchronous method. We've got quick polls, which we typically use for longer term communities, but they can be used in CX and UX work as well. And then we do live video interviews. So there's a capability to do video interviews of up to 20 respondents simultaneously. We do this a lot in CX and UX, and I'll show you an example in a minute about what we call rock star interviews. We learn something unique or different about how a certain category is using a product. And we say, you know what? We've got 20 people in this project. Let's talk to 5 of them. I want to hear from them. I want them to show me on camera live where the product fails to meet their expectations. All of this can be mixed and matched inside of the platform. We've even launched a new feature called Crowd Survey, which is a real-time group survey where you bring people in, usually a larger audience, and you can ask questions live and they pop up on the screen. The respondents answer live. Don't use this as much in CX and UX. This is typically more about adding concept testing or testing things live, like a sporting event or something on TV. But this is yet another feature inside of the platform that once you get access to QualBoard, you can use across the entire spectrum. So those are the event types that we have in the system. I'm going to show you more when we get in the tool. There's 15 different question types that you can deploy in any of those, including screen recording, media upload. So you can really mix and match the data you're collecting from these respondents in a wide variety of ways. I'm going to give you a single case study just to show you how this flexibility kind of plays out in real life. And then I'm going to actually show you inside of the tool just how easy it is to do these things. So this is one of my favorite case studies. This was a user experience study we did about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And this was a client who's got a lot of web properties, a lot of e-commerce properties in the telecommunications space. And what they had figured out is that they really needed to keep up in the space with, making it easier for people to sign up for their plans, buy phones from them. And their websites were getting a little tired. They had a whole group of web properties that they needed to update because they had a bunch of different brands. And they said, look, we really want to rebuild these things once using best practices, but we don't have like 3 years to do this. So they set up a QualBoard project. They had about 100 respondents loaded into the system. And they said, look, we're going to create agile product development sprints around learnings we have in this online community. So it took about 11 or 12 weeks to do this process. We ran this on every one of their brand properties just to make sure that every one of them kind of tested correctly. But we'd start off with this audience and we'd show them early user experience concepts. So early website designs, get group feedback, say, what do you like about this compared to the current design? What is better or worse? How could we improve this? Come back a couple of weeks later, the designers came out with some rough mock-ups to say, hey, here's even another version based on the feedback you gave us. We then refined that through video chats, diaries, quick polls with the audience, just getting more and more feedback about how to make this website design better and better and better. Then we got to a point where we had a pretty good feel for the website about week 7, and we started to really take apart elements of the website. So we got past the overall look and feel and how it's positioned. And we started to say, look, there's certain components that are really critical in the journey. How do we make those perfect? And I put an asterisk next to the pricing discussion. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Week 9, we say, hey, look, here's some of the pages you might not even think to look at. I'd love you to do some screen sharing to show me how you would use the help site, the contact us page. What's missing here? How could we make that easier? Week 11 and 12, we had final design review using all of this feedback. Now the designers are going, here's basically the finished prototype. Folks, does this meet your objectives? Is this a much better site? We ran this program 3 or 4 times on all of their different brand properties in order to evaluate, modernize, and improve them. They told us this would have been an 18-month process using their old way of doing testing. They were able to relaunch everything within 1 calendar year, and that's with a lot of properties getting redone at the same time. So hugely successful with being able to save time, very cost effective, and they learned so much. You'll see that asterisk that I put next to the pricing page discussion. So I told you early on that flexibility and being able to discover and explore is so key. Here's my best example of why. So I'll be honest with you. By week 7, we had the refined mock-ups, and the client kind of had a pause in the action. The designers got behind or something, and so the research team comes to us and they say, hey, we don't have as much this week because the design, I don't know, it was a holiday or something. And they said, look, we got some other ideas. Could we just throw some things in this community and get some feedback? Absolutely. So one of the things we asked was about pricing, which wasn't on the menu at first. They weren't even thinking about redoing the way that the pricing worked on the site. They were going to make it look better, but they weren't going to holistically change it. So we did a screen share diary and we got some interesting feedback. And then we brought a few of those folks that were just kind of like, this doesn't work for me, into a group discussion. And we said, why doesn't this work for you? Like, tell us how you could make this whole pricing exercise better. And they said, oh, it's simple. I don't know what this means. And the researchers are going, what do you mean they don't know what this means? And so we're having this back and forth discussion over 2 and 3 days. And this company had the same design that I think every cell phone company does. It's like small, medium, and large packages for minutes, right? It's 500 minutes, 1,000 minutes, unlimited minutes, and you bought at different price levels. That's how everybody buys, right? And that's just kind of the way the industry worked. But guess what these people in this research project told them? They said, I don't know what that means. Researchers are going, I don't know what do you mean you don't know what this means? They said, well, I mean, I understand what 500 minutes means and 1,000, but is that a lot? Put it in a framework where I can understand it. Put it in context. And they had this breakthrough moment in this week 7 of this study where they went, oh my God, we have an opportunity to actually rethink the way we do pricing because we're putting it out there 1,000 minutes, 50 gigabytes. And for their target audience, they don't know what 50 gigabytes is. Is that like a couple of images? Is that like streaming Netflix all day? And so we spent a 2-week sprint cycle simply looking at the way they'd laid these things out. And we started to put them in context and saying 500 minutes is about this many phone calls a week. It's about this much, this many Netflix videos a week. 1,000 minutes is this, and this many gigabytes adds up to this much browsing online. And it totally changed the game for how these people were understanding the context of, do I buy the small, medium, and large package? So that's why flexibility in these designs is so important, because you can pick up really earth-shattering insights if you give yourself that flexibility, if you give yourself that opportunity to really learn as things progress. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show you just how easy it is for you to go inside of the tool once you've got a project up and running and explore those learnings, and then maybe ask yourself, gosh, if I wish I would learn more, how would I do this? So I'm going to switch screens really quick, and we're going to take a look at that. All right. So I think now you see a very basic QualBoard study on my page. So this is a very, very basic study. This is me as a researcher. I've got a moderator dashboard here, and I can see this is kind of a demo project, so it doesn't show a lot of activity other than the little demo examples I was putting in earlier today. But I can look at this. This can all be fully branded, so it can feel more like a community that matches your brand or your look and feel. And I got 2 research events in here already. I've got a group discussion, and I got a product usage diary. So let's say I'm doing a CX or UX study, and I've got this, and I log in one day, and I go look at this usage diary. And so these are people individually filling out diaries, and I can go here and I can do all sorts of sorting and filtering. I've got a really small audience here. I basically just ask some dummy questions just so you can get a feel for how this works. This is asking people if they interacted with a customer support team this week. You can see yes and no, and of course you can pull all this data out. And these are just example answers, but you can see that some people did interact with customer support and some didn't. If you did, why did you interact with these people? And I've got some example reasons why people would have reached out to this tech support group and to get feedback. So let's say, Danny says he couldn't get the orange light to go off. And I say, that's interesting. He had a product issue. So let's say that I want to tag that, and I want to say that he had a product related issue. So I can start to organize my insights based on, what people are saying and what people are learning. I could pull that into a report, what we call an insight report or a workbench. Very easy for me to do. But let's say, what I want to do with Danny is I actually want to invite him into a research interview. So I'm going to say he's a research interview candidate. So I just tagged him as an interview candidate. And then I'm going to go back up one step, and I'm going to start a video interview. And I'm going to say, Cody video interview. You can never type when you're on screen. This is a multi-country study, so I select my time zone. I select when things are going to happen, and I'm going to invite Cody into this project. I can turn off all sorts of things like recording and allowing them to use mobile devices. I'm going to leave all of those on for now. So I've just created a video event. I can go in here and I can then invite different participants. You can do it a few different ways. You can configure it so that anybody who has that invite tag gets invited to this project automatically. So I just had Danny, so I'm going to do the one. You can see that Danny automatically dropped in here. If I didn't have Danny, if I had 5 or 6 others, they would have automatically gotten invited to this video interview. And at the time and place that I set up this video interview, everybody's going to get a notification. They're going to log in, and I'm going to be on camera, and I'm going to say, hey, everybody, you were giving us great feedback in that customer experience diary that you were doing. I'd love to spend 10 minutes with you. I want to see this product, what's working, not working. I want to talk to you a little bit. This gets fully recorded. Obviously, there would be a group session going on. Clients can log in and observe and participate in a backroom chat. But you can see there in 30, 40 seconds, I was able to launch a video interview, invite a few folks to this, pull them out of a diary and say, look, I want to learn more from you. Let's talk about the experiences you had with this product or service. That's how easy QualBoard makes it, not only for video interviews, but really any of our different event types. You could spin up a new group discussion. You could throw a quick poll out to the audience if you just wanted to get some real structured feedback. Really, really easy for you to be that flexible researcher that oftentimes finds those little nuggets of wisdom that's kind of hidden off the beaten path. So that's the little light deal I'm going to show you. I'm going to go back to my contact information here. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing. And I want to pull my contact information up on the screen because I don't know if you can tell, but I love talking about this stuff. This is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm here for questions. So on behalf of Schlesinger Group, I want to thank you for taking some time with us today. Hope you learned a little bit. And I'm always here for any questions today, obviously, but also after this session as well. Thank you so much.